News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Denise Pellegrini. The deadline for increasing the U.S. federal debt ceiling is approaching, but Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says
the United States of America is never going to default. That is never going to happen. That we are on the warning track and we will never hit the wall.
Bessent on CBS Face the Nation. He declined to specify an X date for when the Treasury will run out of cash, but he says the goal is to bring the deficit down over the next 4 years. Republican congressional leaders have attached an increase in the debt limit to President Trump's tax and spending bill, which potentially puts avoiding a default at the mercy of complex negotiations over that legislation. The Senate returns this week to take up that bill. The Trump administration has been accusing China of breaking a recent trade truce with the U.S., but Bessent is indicating President Trump is expecting to talk trade and other issues with China's leader Xi Jinping in a call.
The fact that they are withholding some of the products that they agreed to release during our agreement, maybe it's a glitch in the Chinese system. Maybe it's intentional. We'll see after the president speaks with party chairman.
Bessent, again there on CBS Face the Nation. The White House has said it's concerned about promised export licenses on items including rare earth elements and other items. Russia's defense ministry is accusing Ukraine of a terror attack, according to Interfax. That's after 2 bridges blew up in regions bordering Ukraine, causing fatalities and injuries. Separately, Ukrainian drones attacked several Russian strategic airfields, including a base in eastern Siberia, damaging over 40 aircraft, including long-range bombers capable of deploying conventional and nuclear weapons, as well as the A-50, that's according to a Ukrainian official. The attacks coming after Russia launched a long-range drone and missile attack against Kyiv. Meantime, peace talks between Moscow and Kyiv, scheduled for Turkey, and Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky confirms Ukraine is taking part in the Istanbul talks. In the Middle East, dozens killed, scores wounded as they were on their way to receive food in the Gaza Strip, according to health officials and witnesses. Israel's army says it did not fire at civilians within or around a U.S.-backed aid center in southern Gaza. Possible major development in the fight against cancer. Immunotherapy treatments involving drugs including Opdivo, Imfinzi, and Tecentriq are showing promise in treating early and mid-stage cancers, including gastric, colon, and head and neck cancers, according to Bloomberg's Robert Langreth.
Instead of poisoning the cancer cell, what it helps do is train the body's own immune system to attack the cancer cells. So it's basically triggering the immune system against the cancer cells. And by doing this, like after, right around the time of a potential, surgery to remove all the tumor, what they hope it's doing is basically removing, any remaining cancer cells that are out there that the operation hasn't gotten.
And Langreth says the studies are being presented at the American Society of Clinical Oncology. And he also says the development of immunotherapy treatments for earlier stage cancers could expand use, transform care for stubborn diseases, and provide a new source of revenue for pharmaceutical companies. Delta Airlines CEO Ed Bastian says he's seeing price sensitivity among main cabin, i.e. economy class passengers, but he says he expects improvement later this year. Meantime, he says business class demand is still strong.
When you have the nature of the uncertainty we have, which is a little bit more geopolitical in nature,
Yep.
Businesses have to be traveling. They have to be out with their customers. They have to be out seeing what's happening in the marketplace. So businesses are still traveling.
And Bastian there on Bloomberg Television in New Delhi. Delta reports earnings in early July. Investors also keeping an eye on those steel tariffs. President Trump is announcing he is doubling to 50% from 25% on steel and aluminum. That's expected, he says, to start this Wednesday. And we'll also be getting the May jobs report this coming week on Wall Street. The pace of job growth expected to slow. Earnings also looking to get a read on how tariffs are impacting consumers. Lululemon, Signet Jewelers, Dollar Tree, and Campbell all report. We'll also be hearing from Broadcom. Crude oil futures also in focus. OPEC Plus this weekend agreeing to increase oil output by 411,000 barrels a day in July for the third month in a row. And that's News When You Want It with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Denise Pellegrini. This is Bloomberg.